Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Billy. Today I would like to share with you two dresses with a sleeveless bodice and a gathered skirt. And today's dresses are very much a continuation of what I've been doing since my video 78. However, today's dresses have a new twist, meaning that today's dresses are actually inspired by my trip to France 4 years ago in 2018. Today's dresses, and therefore also the video today, were inspired by this fabric that I saw on movefabrics.com last summer. And it depicts the garden of the Versailles Palace, and it just brought back truly wonderful memories of my trip there 4 years ago. And so I decided to make two dresses with a bit of a French-centric theme and perhaps design, and so that's the basis for today's video. So in late March and April of 2018, I was planning a trip to 3 stops in Europe just to visit with clients and other professionals, i.e. accountants or lawyers in these 3 countries that I routinely work with, just to keep in touch. And obviously it's nice to always visit people and to maintain the relationship. And so the 3 stops were London, and then Geneva, and Paris. And originally the entire trip was about a week. And it so happened that when I was planning my trip, I happened to talk to one of my best friends, Irene. And it turned out that my trip would coincide with her children's spring break, and that she was taking her children to France for their spring break, and that her husband, because of work, could not join them, so there were just 3 of them. And it turned out that I could very easily connect with them after my Geneva trip, and if I just pushed back my Paris meeting by about a week. And so I asked her if she minded if I crashed her family vacation, and she was nice enough to let me join. And so that was what happened. So after Geneva, I just took the train to Lyon, and then I connected them with Lyon. And so it was interesting. When I got to Lyon's main train station, I just took the local tram transportation, the above ground kind of train system. And it was clear I was the only tourist there because everybody else on the train looked really local. And also partly because I was the only person with any kind of luggage. But anyway, so we started in Lyon. We were in Lyon for 2.5 days. And one thing I really love about Lyon is the mural. And as you can see here, it has a very history, and it really is cool. So I highly recommend this mural. Then after Lyon, we went to Dijon, and obviously we had to go to a mustard store, and I had such a great time. I was talking, and they were so helpful. So they really helped us pick out sort of the very representative and also the salesperson's own favorite varieties of mustard, and so we got that. And also one thing about Dijon is that there is an owl on the side of a building, and it is supposedly good luck if you touch that owl. And so that was what I did, as you can see in the picture here. And then when we were about to head up to Paris, not surprisingly, the train, the TGV, or the SNCF, the railroad sort of union, was going on strike. And I was like, okay, how do we get to Paris now? And my friend, being the person that she is everything she researched, I never had to worry about it being not thorough. And I would never ever go against her in a debate or any kind of thing, because there was no way I would win, because she researched everything to death. And so she was just on the website to buy the tickets constantly. She was just checking. And magically, she managed to buy tickets for the TGV for all of us. So we were actually able to get on the very few trains that were actually running, because by that time the strike had already started. So anyway, so that was amazing. So we got to Paris. So in a way, it was such a French experience, because one hears about French people loving to strike all the time, and indeed I experienced it firsthand. So it was kind of cool, even though obviously I didn't mind it too much, because we managed to get on the train, and so it did not derail our travel plan. And so once we were in Paris, obviously we do a lot of sightseeing, what touristy stuff. And one of the highlights of our Paris trip was a trip to Versailles. And so here are some pictures of me inside the palace itself, but also in the garden. And there is actually an incredibly helpful app on the Versailles itself, and you could actually use it to guide you as you walk around the premises. And also it comes in several languages, and so it's incredibly helpful. So when I saw this fabric on movefabrics.com, I had to buy it, because in a way it's a bit of a memento of my trip to Paris. Because these days when I travel, I don't really buy little tchotchkes anymore, because it would just kind of clutter up my home. But I saw that this fabric, even though not purchased in France, what would serve as a wonderful memento to my trip there. And so that's sort of the whole thing was inspired because of this fabric. So the first dress that I will share with you today is this one here, made from about 2 yards of about 56-inch wide cotton poplin that I purchased from movefabrics.com last year. And so here's a close-up look of the fabric itself. And to better appreciate the print of this fabric, here is a picture from movefabrics.com's website. And the print of this fabric is a bit on the grid. So there are 2 garden scenes of Versailles alternating with the head of a statue. And so it's on a grid. And so when I was deciding how to use this fabric, I had to kind of give it some thought, actually. And so what I ended up deciding was, for the front of the bodice, I will use one of the garden scenes. And so here you can see. And this is actually the main garden scenes in the Garden of Versailles, and so I thought it was appropriate. As you can see, it's the main one with a sort of water fountain in the shape of a cross, and so that was the front. And for the back, I thought I could, have a little more fun, and so for the back of the dress, I did the head of the statue, and I was actually quite happy how the pattern matching worked out, because the back seam is not a straight line. It's actually a little curved, obviously to take into account of the shape of my back. And so I was quite happy that the connections worked out very well. So that was a pleasant surprise. And about the skirt portion, is a 2-tier design. So the first tier is about 12 inches wide, and this first tier is just a shorter version of the V9197 Very Easy Vogue skirt. And for the bottom portion, I decided to have a little more fun, and so I added this layer of ruffles. And the ruffles is just a simple rectangle of also 12 inches long. And then I decided that I like the 2-to-1 ratio, so I just measured the circumference of the top tier and then times 2. And so that's what I cut out this rectangle and just gathered it to fit the top tier of that skirt. And so that's how it worked out. And I also added pockets for this one, so that was easy. One of the reasons for having a tiered skirt for this dress was that I follow several French YouTube channels, and it seems to be, obviously this is a very generic generalization, that they just love ruffles. And but because of the design, I did not want ruffles in the bodice portion, but I still would like to have some ruffles just to make the dress a little more French. And so that's why I decided to add the bottom tier ruffles, so it would be a little more ruffly, and so in a way it's a nod to the French design sensibility, as I observed from watching these YouTube channels. Even though originally I cut out both tiers to be the same height, somehow visually the top tier looked a bit longer than the bottom tier, even though they really were the same length for the tiers. And so that was not pleasing to the eye. However, luckily, once I added the belt, because it covers a bit of the top tier, then it reduces the length of the top tier, and so now the proportions of the top and the bottom tiers look a lot more pleasing to my eye. So that is something I kept in mind for future projects. And so here's a quick video of this Garden of Versailles dress, and I paired the dress with a pair of 3-inch dark brown heels just to complement the dark tone of the head of the statue. And I am really happy how it worked out. And of course, this is a dress not meant for work, but I just thought that it was so much fun, and it really reminded me of the wonderful trip that I took to France 4 years ago. And so I am really happy about how this one turned out. And one interesting thing about this trip, as I was preparing for today's video, was that I noticed that I used to wear a lot of black. It was black, black, and more black. And it's just such an interesting thing now that I am making my own garments. And also I guess maybe I'm older now and more advanced in my career. I didn't feel like wearing so much black anymore. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of black garments on my channel. Even though black is an incredibly common color, or it's really almost a universal color for people in New York City. So in a way, the garments I make are not exactly representative of what people wear in New York City, just because I don't feel like it. So that's kind of number one. Number two, also, I noticed I was on the phone for several of the pictures there. And this was not because I was one of those people who just had to be on the phone all the time. So what happened was I was handling an IRS audit case, and that case had gone dormant. The IRS had not done anything with that case for several months. And all of a sudden, I think it got assigned to a new agent. And all of a sudden, she decided she wanted to move at full speed with this case. So she called me actually when I was at Gatwick flying to Geneva. And I told her I couldn't really say anything, discuss anything in depth, because I was waiting to board my flight and I'm in a public area, so obviously I could not discuss anything confidential. Then she continued to call me, and then I told her I'm actually currently on vacation and I will return to the office in about a week. But she just continued to call me and want me to do this and do that, even though I already told her like I'm on vacation. And so it just shows you like some people really have no manners. I mean, seriously, no deadline will be missed by waiting a week, and there was no reason for her to in a way harass me like that. But anyway, that's beside the point. But that's kind of funny as I look back at the pictures, and I was on the phone in many of the pictures, and that was the reason why. The second dress that I will share with you today is this one here, made from 2 yards of cotton duck fabric that I purchased from Walmart.com last year. And so here's a close-up look of this print. As you can see, it's sort of very similar to the classic Toile de Jouy, and depicts sort of a French country life. And so I just really love it, and then so that it will be appropriate for today's video. And alas, this fabric is not from France. Actually, I ordered a real Toile de Jouy online. However, it's just taking forever to arrive, and so I still don't have it yet. And so I was not able to make a dress out of the real Toile de Jouy fabric, but this one will do for now. And this dress is exactly the same dress as the second dress from my video 78, and also both of the dresses from my video 80. And so from a construction point of view, it's exactly the same, i.e. the same self-drafted sleeveless bodice, and also the gathered skirt from the Very Easy Vogue V9197. And so here is a picture showing you all 4 dresses with the identical design and cut and everything. So it gives you an idea of the same dress but in different fabric and colors. And I think they look different enough, so I don't feel like I'm repeating the same thing. So I'm very happy about it. And so here is a quick video of this Toile de Jouy-esque dress, and I paired the dress with a pair of 3.5-inch heels in black. And I'm just really loving this fabric. I really love it. It's a black and white, so it's very versatile, and strangely, this actually is perfectly suitable for work. I think just because it's a bit of a monochrome type of look. But I am very happy how this works out, and because I've been making this dress now for so many times, so I had everything down pat, and so it was a quick project from beginning to end. Merci d'avoir regardé jusqu'au bout. J'espère que cette vidéo aujourd'hui vous a plu et qu'elle vous a inspiré un peu pour vos goussettes ce printemps et cet été. Je vous embrasse très fort et je vous dis à bientôt. Bye bye!